Okay, here we are in Game 1 of Team Liquid versus Slayers. This is a best-of-9 series. First map going to be Daybreak, and Liquid.HerO is our blue Protoss down in the bottom left spawn. Way up in the top right is the guy we were just talking about, SlayerS.Dark, the green Zerg.
That's right. So, as we mentioned, there's quite a bit on the line here for those of you who may just be tuning in. If Liquid can win this match, it would put them at 1 and 2 in the division, tied with Slayers, though, and with a possibility that if MVP goes down to EG, then there would be a three-way split and they could make it through into the playoffs. You know, but there's a lot that they have to count on, and they've really got to win this match. Now, a few things as well for everyone out there. We are giving away a TT Esports mouse and mouse pad this week, thanks to our friends at TT Esports. So please do head over to tinyurl.com/IPLTTEsports3, the number 3 again, tinyurl.com/IPLTTEsports3 to enter that contest, and certainly best of luck. As well, IPL 5 is actually getting surprisingly close. We're actually only about a month and 3 weeks or something like that. 7 weeks out from the event, so hope you guys will be joining us at the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. Head over to IGN.com/IPL5 for everything related to the event, including all the awesome GSL content that's going to be there. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It's actually going to be basically a 1-month GSL span, as the semifinals are, I think, tomorrow night for the current Code S season, and then I believe October 20th in Korea, which would be the 19th here, is the finals for that season, but they're going to get started immediately with the next season so that we can wrap it up with the Code S semifinals and finals at IPL 5 November 28th through December 2nd in Las Vegas. If you haven't got your tickets yet, IGN.com/IPL5 is where you're going to find ticket sales as well as those heavily discounted room rates, and those won't last forever. Eventually the room rates will fill up, and you know, you just will have to find another hotel to stay at, so you might as well take advantage of the super awesome room rates. Wow, the probe actually getting killed completely by SlayerS.Dark, able to drop that hat trick. Yeah, a little bit of a mistake by HerO. Of course, whenever you decide to go Nexus first, you can't pylon block because it sets your forge so far back behind that Zerglings are already tearing through your front wall at that point before you get a cannon up. So HerO made the right move by not deciding to pylon block, but made the wrong move in exposing his probe just a little bit too much and got it killed. All right, so Dark is going to be pretty satisfied getting that hatchery down without too much delay. HerO is slowly going to get this wall built up. Cybernetics Core and a Zealot block, most likely going to be what we see next after the first cannon, of course. This Overlord is checking out everything for Dark to see, and Dark actually making a move toward that third base. Daybreak is a map that we see this quite often, so not really surprising there to see him take a little bit of a greedy build. Yeah, 4-minute hatchery coming down, and everything's looking pretty darn normal for Dark so far. We'll see what he decides to do afterwards. Of course, his opponent, HerO, has not really shown us anything that's too weird either. He has only gone for 1 gas, but HerO has been doing this a little bit. He'll tend to go for a few gateways with a Warp Prism and try and put on Harass at the beginning. Of course, a Warp Prism just costs 200 minerals, so doesn't require any additional gas. And even if you get down an early robotics facility with your first 100 gas, or I guess after the Cybernetics Core and Warp Gate, you can still support this off of 1 gas for a little while with pressure. All right, yep, he's got a pretty limited set of builds that he can actually get out at the moment because of that 1 gas, but Dark getting that second hatchery up. He has some Lings out on the field already, kind of testing the front of HerO. HerO is going to start scouting around some more with his probe, perhaps even place some forward pylons. We'll see as the Cybernetics Core gets finished which direct route he wants to actually go. Does he want to add on a ton of gateways or go for that robotics facility we mentioned a little bit earlier? Most likely, I think the robotics facility seems like it would be a good choice. Dark, you know, we still don't really have a ton of information about how he plays. He did, I believe, in the 2 games that he won in the first week of Premier Division, basically won his games from outlasting, just staying alive, some really clutch defenses that lasted 5 or 10 minutes, and then he just had enough stuff left at the end to go kill his opponent. So we'll see if this is going to play out kind of like that or not. Finally, a second gas is put down for HerO, but it's pretty clever as well because this Overlord is always put in position to pick up on these gas, so he'll think that things are pretty normal just before 6-minute gas coming down. Aha, and there's 3 gateways coming up for HerO, going to be a total of 4 in a moment. I guess I'm a little surprised he's not doing this via Warp Prism, but it's still going to work out for him just the same, especially with +1 weapons coming up. Yep, +1 weapons means he is most likely going to gear up for a pretty forward attack. You can see he's already got a pylon in the works near the third of Dark. Dark should be aware of this, or at least, you know, cautious of it. Roach Warren coming up now. He will be able to crank out some roaches here in the next few seconds.
seconds after the Warren is done. But HerO actually going to have these 3 gateways done and warp gate tech research before the Roach Warren is actually going to be completed, it looks like.
Oh, and the Zerglings actually went the wrong way. They were headed down. I thought they were going to catch a glimpse of this pylon, but so far Dark is, well, in the dark.
In the worst position to defend this.
That's right. Yes. Facts.
Forward pylon again. Obviously, if it's discovered and taken out, he's got that one just behind the visibility blocker that he's using to warp in right now. 6 roaches are on the way for Dark, as well as Zergling speed. So these 6 roaches could all be at different hatcheries, so they might actually have a long running time to be able to help defend here. And the Stalker actually getting all the way surrounded by those Lings without speed. That was a nice catch by SlayerS.Dark.
Yeah, very, very good surround. This Queen actually is pretty low in health as well. The roaches are finally starting to pop out, and pretty good micro from Dark to pull those back at the moment. And thus far, HerO hasn't been able to get too much damage done. And but now with the warping of Stalkers, that's going to provide a little bit more meat against these roaches. But he is being driven off of creep once again. It's
been a slow trickle of units. We had 2 Zealots and a Stalker to start off, then 3 more Zealots warped in, then now 4 Stalkers that are kind of alone. I kind of wish HerO had just kept his forces a little bit more consolidated before pressing in there, because now after losing 1, 2, 3 units at a time, he's got such a smaller force that he is actually most likely not going to be able to pull this off. Dark is still making fighting units. We do have that Queen still standing as well, just getting another Larva inject. He should actually probably pull his drones at this point just to keep them from getting slaughtered by these Zealots.
And the Zealots and the Stalkers, everything on the ground actually has +1 weapons now for HerO, so he's doing quite a bit more damage and takes out the Queen as well. So the second round of this 4-gate pressure has actually done quite a bit of damage. Immortals are coming up now, and I'm not sure if HerO plans to go after an expansion or not. He does have units sitting over here in a pylon over at his 3rd location, or if he's just planning to follow this up with a ton of Immortal pressure.
Ouch, Dark loses an Overlord and that other Roach without actually being able to micro him. 6 more Roaches on the way and lots of Lings. He did eventually pull the drones and kept a lot of them alive, which is nice, but he did lose the Queen. He's just a little bit slow to actually get enough units to try and combat this. HerO teching up behind, as you said, getting those Immortals out now, really has done a pretty good amount of damage. He could probably just call it even and head out of there, but no, he is actually just going to keep shooting away at these Roaches, and now it looks like he might flee. I don't know. It's really tough to tell because he could always warp in. There he does, 3 more Zealots, so it looks like he does want to continue just for a moment, but now he's backing off anyway.
Yeah, and that 3rd base is well underway at the moment. He kill any workers? Not that many. He killed 3 of them, but he's done his damage and he's going to back home. He killed the Queen. He denied some mining. He, of course, forced his opponent to produce attack units at a time when he wanted to be making just a lot of drones. So HerO's still done his damage, but more than anything, the pressure has kind of allowed him to take a pretty secure 3rd.
That's right. All the benefits of keeping your opponent distracted have allowed HerO to get up a 3rd base. They've allowed him to get a couple of Immortals out as well. Now these Lings really don't have enough time to pick a good target before the Stalkers arrive from HerO, and there is some movement. I saw, oh, that was actually the Observer overhead of that hatchery, just chilling, watching everything, making sure that Dark doesn't, I don't know, I guess place any tech there. I don't see why you would, but there is actually a 4th base coming up now for Dark pretty quickly as well.
4th base and 2 macro hatches at the same time. Now, no real surprise out of HerO. He's teching into Templar very aggressively, but of course it is Dark Templar, and he's been known to use those in the past pretty efficiently. His opponent does not have a lot of detection, at least not on the ground. And yeah, I mean, of course he has layer tech and he has evolution chamber, so he can make spore crawlers and overseers at any time, but they're not in place at the moment.
Right, as soon as he gets an inkling that Dark Templar will be hitting the field, he will be in a decent position to get things situated before they actually show up. He is going to just hang out at the Zelnaga Tower. I'm not sure. I don't believe he can see that force at the top of the ramp. So,
no, he couldn't before.
Yeah, so HerO's actually just outside that vision range. Dark actually could be in a bad position if he attacks into that without knowing exactly what's waiting for him. HerO getting eyes on this whole army, though. That's good for him.
And yes, a Liquid.HerO Dark Templar drop as a War Prism is actually out and on the way. HerO pushes out, picks off 2 Zerglings, just wants to take control of the Zelnaga Tower, of course, and successfully does so. He's even got his photon cannons in position over at the 3rd, so we can help delay for a while for a couple warp-in cycles to finish.
All right, once this Prism is out, he can loop it around the left or right side. It looks like the Overlord coverage is actually pretty minimal out of Dark, mostly on his side of the map, and actually not even fully covering those entrances into his main, so that's kind of interesting. The Warp Prism could potentially slip past. Spire is nearly done, and it looks like Dark actually wants to split his forces a little bit, taking out the destructible debris on one side, trying to attack into the third base of Hero with all of his lings. It looks like both sides actually are going to be repelled.
That's right, and Hero is going to start pushing this back. He's actually done a pretty good amount of damage there. His opponent, of course, has been waiting for super high tech, forced into making about 30 lings there, but of course had such a bank of minerals that he probably should have done that initially anyway. Warp Prism is cycling around. It's actually getting into position with the rest of the units here from Hero, but unfortunately for Hero, Dark has already picked up on this. He's got Spore Crawlers making their way in. Just a single Dark Templar for now, though, until the Spore Crawlers come up.
All right, so the Spores, oh, here comes some more, a couple Zealots and Dark Templar. Big fumble on the front of Hero's forces. Actually, the Roaches do have a pretty good concave, so Hero is going to be trying to do some work in the main while microing his army out here. Good force fields keep most of his more fragile units alive, and the Zealots and DTs are actually getting a lot of damage in.
Yeah, they are.
In the main here.
Couple of Queens and force all the energy out of an Infestor as well. DTs have actually come through and killed this base altogether, and they're killing a lot of workers. This has actually moved into multiple places at once now, and things not looking all that good for Dark at the moment. Hero is able to hold on pretty well, and he actually had with this engagement here beautiful force fields just to be able to hold back most of the Tide of Zerglings and keep his sentries alive for longer. Forced, of course, some energy out of those, but Hero has done a pretty good job.
I'm pretty surprised Hero didn't actually move in with that main force after he pulled Dark in basically 3 different directions. He still did not opt to move in with the many Stalkers and Immortals that he actually had still standing. I think he could have gotten quite a lot of damage in at the natural, for example, while the DTs and Zealots were doing all that distracting. 13 workers killed, but 182 units killed overall. That's going to put him up by about 1,600 resources lost. Charge is researching now extended thermal lances, and is that +2 weapons it looks like, or is that actually +3 already?
It's +3 weapons,
wow, okay,
yeah.
so +3 is coming up already, and a Stargate for Hero, so he's going to be able to have lots of different tech. He can actually start working toward Mothership pretty quickly, too. Absolutely
what I'd expect him to start moving towards. These Roaches are going to be able to deal with the Zealots very efficiently, and yep, everything goes down. Bye-bye. 4th Hatchery coming up, though, was pretty much a deck giveaway to Hero, so we'll see if he decides to develop anything that'll go after that before it becomes well saturated. But because he's pretty aggressively teching himself, obviously producing all these Colossi, moving up even to Warp Prism speed, he finished range? Yeah, he finished range.
So now with extended thermal lances, he'll be able to get a couple of free shots on these lings. The Stalkers have Blink already completed, so they're going to be a lot more mobile than previous, and Charge will be done in just a moment. He's also getting, is that the Warp Prism speed upgrade? Yes. It looks like? So actually the Fleet Beacon coming up as well basically verifies that the Mothership will be coming out pretty shortly. And that is something that you pretty much need against a huge amount of Infestors and Broodlords, which Dark is already starting to get on the field.
Really nice fungal growth, traps all the casters off to the side there. The sentries, a couple of them dying even before they're able to get off too much damage. So Dark has done a good job with the few Broodlords that he has in the air. But now Hero's gone up to a 4th base, Dark has gone up to a 5th base, and we're pretty much at the top of the tech tree already. So we've moved pretty quickly into that very late game scenario.
Not really a whole, I mean, it feels like this game is still kind of progressing forward because we haven't had that super big engagement yet. It's just been a little bit of harassment from Hero and pretty good defensive holds from Dark. Again, this is what Dark did in that first series of Premier Division when he kind of debuted. He basically just outlasted his opponents. So we'll see if Hero's going to get enough damage in, if he can keep hitting multiple bases with these Warp Prism drops, with these Zealots and Dark Templar, then he could actually save himself long enough to get that Mothership out, get High Templar out with Storm, have more Colossus on the field, basically a good unit mixture to get this game going toward the end game.
And he just killed another Infestor. He's been very cost efficient with those so far. So Hero's played this well, but Dark is still here. You mentioned before that he kind of built himself a style off of outlasting his opponents. And despite the fact that he did lose this base, of course, he had this hatchery that was up and running after the DTs killed the initial one. So he still didn't lose that much in terms of efficiency of mining and was able to reset those pretty quickly.
All right, with Hero moving around the south side of the map, I'm curious if the Mothership will be joining him before he actually just decides to move in. It looks like he does just want to check this base, kind of contest it a little bit to make sure that the Zerg opponent hasn't actually taken it. It looks like Hero is actually gearing up to take another base for himself, or Is that meant to block or just? It's kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure if he has room to the side of it or not.
All right.
In any case, the spine crawler wall is on the way now, and Hero has actually kind of fallen to this in the past. I remember a game against the former Prime member Anyang Prime on Entomb Valley, where Hero delayed late game, did quite a bit of damage, built himself up a big army, but never knew when to move in. And Anyang from there was able to take the advantage and win kind of this war of attrition. So I hope Hero's going to be a little bit more aggressive this go around. All
right, well, the mothership is out. It's gaining energy, and once he has enough for a vortex, probably he'll feel a bit confident and able to move out. But these zealots getting pinned in place by these spine crawlers and all the broodlings as well. They're not going to be able to do anything. And it looked like the pylon actually was not meant to block a hatch, was actually just meant as another place to warp in from. But all these stalkers off on their own, trying to get some damage in. Here come the Colossi, Sentries, and Immortals that you would expect to see tagging along. There's a Warp Prism actually looking like it wants to make another play at the main. This Queen is going to catch it, so we'll see where he's actually going to warp in and what.
Pretty important thing to note as well is these zealots are making their way into the Warp Prism, should be able to get out of there in time. Warp Prisms with speed are very, very quick. Would not only have +1 weapons coming up for air at the moment, but we also have another drop coming in down at the bottom right along with Storm.
Ooh.
There's a pretty big worker disadvantage for Hero at the moment. He's actually, for Dark at the moment. He's down by 16 workers now and is on even supply, which means, and it's unusual for a Zerg player to be at this, he has a lot beefier army than the Protoss player does.
All right, both Warp Prisms actually still very active, so Hero just slowly getting the tech up on all of his upgrades and things like that, while still constantly harassing with those Zealots and Dark Templar. It looks like he is trying to take out some high-value targets. He may have stormed some Lings there before morphing into that Archon, but it looks like the Queens and Roaches are easily going to be able to take care of that. Another round of Warp-ins. Not enough energy for Storm, so I'm actually a little surprised he decided to warp in while his forces were pretty low there. Either way, there is still that Warp Prism at the bottom base as well. He can keep just bouncing in. Oh, sorry, it's just a Changeling. He must have actually dealt with that other Warp Prism completely.
These last couple of drops have not been all that effective for Hero, though. I mean, he had a ton of units coming in. It was designed to kill the Greater Spire, but they all ran through this little choke point and got chewed up by Zerg units. If he had run just a few of them around, he probably could have actually destroyed that in time. And he's going to lose a few Templar here. He does manage to get off some Storms, so he does a lot of damage to the Roaches. That actually does buy time for these Stalkers to get up, so not a total loss of those Templar, but not exactly as efficient as he would have liked.
Right, and even one more Storm actually catching his own Stalkers for the bulk of it. There's one more Storm to basically finish them off. The Cannons will finish them off. The Templar, unfortunately, does go down as well. So Dark trading units left and right. You were making a good point about the worker situation that we have here. Dark is actually at a disadvantage, which you don't want to see as a Zerg player compared to a Protoss player. So he is going to actually morph in some more Broodlords, but I think his drone saturation, yeah, he's building 4 more at a time just to keep that up with Hero's production. But another Warp Prism in the works, as well as air weapons and armor upgrades.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the, and obviously there's no air units out except for the mothership at the moment. I just brought up the unit tab just to confirm. There are actually 3 motherships on the field. I believe one of them may have just been taken out. Yeah, now down to 2.
You said 3 motherships.
Or, sorry, Warp Prisms is
what I meant.
Far
too
there
many.
There is only one mothership. There's no possibility of being able to produce multiple motherships. That's not a change.
Actually, if Dark were to neural parasite a probe and get far enough up the chain, we could have 2 motherships in this game.
That would be awesome. That would be my favorite game of StarCraft that I've ever watched. Although it would take a year.
Yeah, it would take a long time. But we've got air weapons actually coming up for Dark as well. More Infestors and Corruptors. He is still gearing up for many, many Broodlords and many, many Infestors. Dark has not actually done any attacking this game. Like, I think his Roaches got to that top base 1 time because they were chasing a Templar. But that's basically it so far from Dark for aggression.
Hero's going to start trying to crash through the spine crawler wall. He did pull a lot of units out of position because his drop is still doing damage up here, but it looks like now Dark is going to react to this. Storm did eat up quite a bit of health on these Corruptors, but they're still doing their work. They've picked off a couple of Colossi now, just a 3rd remaining. The drone's trying to get away from the Storm. Storm's hitting all the Corruptors once again, but the anti-air is not being dealt with quick enough, and with the Infestors, with the Broodlords at the back, that army did get crushed, although I think some of it just recalled.
Yep. When I saw basically Hero was all the way out there without his mothership, and he was running toward the corner rather than going to fight the army. That setup for mass recall was pretty good. He did actually lose a lot of units to the fungals, though, and it looked like he was having a tough time getting everything clumped up enough to actually recall. So that was kind of a problem. He did lose a lot of units that way. Now the infestors are coming up for Dark. This is the first big attack that he's actually tried to coordinate, and he's got a ton of infestors and broodlords still alive. He has not been losing them all too much throughout this, and storms are being dropped on all of the infested Terrans, so that's good for Hero to try and keep this Nexus alive, but it looks like he is going to be run out of town. 3 broodlords versus a huge round of weapon of stalkers. Interesting. Those are going to get taken out pretty efficiently there by the stalkers, and actually they're going to be able to roam free a little bit inside of Dark's main.
Yeah, hopefully they can pick off something important in tech here, as the Evolution Chambers have some use left. But the spawning pool is a good choice. There are actually 2 carriers on the way, along with Protoss air weapons 3. Not something you usually see at 28 minutes into the game. And unfortunately, Hero will lose the rest of his stalkers, but not before he bounces around and picks off a couple extra annoying structures.
Man, that is a really interesting target choice, killing the spawning pool like that, because basically if Dark were to continue moving through with his sort of Zerg siege push with the infestors and the broodlords, you know, reinforcing with Lings is basically what most Zerg players do, just so they can keep the attack rolling as long as possible. So taking out the spawning pool, Dark actually has not rebuilt it yet, so he is basically limited on what he can try to reinforce with. War Prism is taken out, but as at the same time that hatchery is taken out as well.
Yeah, and so the hatchery does go down. I saw a blue blob up at the top, but unfortunately it's just changelings sitting around.
He keeps making them and just chilling with them, trying to confuse us, I think.
I know, good job.
He's doing it.
Yeah, it's working. A lot of infestors, though. A lot of infestors. 18 of them. That's actually all of them, okay? 11 broodlords, 18 infestors, 14 corruptors. That's a very strong anti-air force. Now the first 2 carriers are popping up, though, and that looks like that's what Hero wants to remax on. He's working off of quite a bit of gas. Are these all completely saturated? Yeah, it looks like they are. But unfortunately for him, you know, he's run through a lot of his bank at the moment, and you know, he obviously wants to max once again before he actually has to attack, and these carriers take forever to produce.
That's true. 2 carriers at a time are quite a lot of time investment and resource investment. The trick is actually keeping them alive after you've actually got them on the field. These probes are just lined up and resigned to death. This is actually a really sad thing to watch, so we're going to turn to Zerglings dying instead.
Well, they died valiantly in combat, though.
At least they're fighting each other. Yeah, they're not just like waiting. Oh my God, that was terrible.
I know.
Terrible imagery, but these carriers actually are here now for Hero. He's with his Stalker army. He's morphing a bunch of Archons as well. If the mothership is still alive, right?
Yeah, it's right there.
Remember, okay, so it's got plenty of energy for a couple of Vortexes. He's been making lots of Archons as we go along, so Archon Toilet definitely a possibility as we move in, but both players actually giving each other a lot of room to work at the moment. Even though they're both near max, those upgrades are still rolling, and eventually they'll be out of upgrades and it'll just be fighting all the time.
What is it with our game ones recently? They've been so ridiculously long. Oh,
they're so important.
Prism gets picked off before the units drop in. You should probably start focusing one of the important tech structures, roach warners, because a lot of Zerg players will just make a ton of roaches if they see something in the air. You know, especially in the super late game when you can just reproduce them so cheaply.
Because map score is so important, they've been putting the better players up first, and that actually just makes for better games. And actually, you know, they don't want to make mistakes, so they actually end up playing these longer games so that they don't lose just off a build order. They're going to be playing, you know, more solid build orders. They're going to be playing a bit safer, a bit more cautious, so that they don't overextend and make that crucial mistake. Because map score is important, definitely for Liquid as well, because they are at 0-2 right now.
That's right. 2 carriers are off to the side. I believe that there's a couple more. Changeling army making its way up. And it looks like Hero's going to kill them all, but not before they got a pretty good read on what was going on. More changelings! There's so much blue on the map that's not actually what I'm looking for. I like the inclusion of a couple of Dark Templar here. It looks like this War Prism is going to get chased down and taken out. Oh, it actually drops the rest of its cargo and is able to pick off some units, though, before everything goes down. I believe that was the Infestation Pit that actually fell, so Hero has been doing a nice job of taking out these very expensive structures, but man, look at those very high energy infestors that are still available.
That is going to be a lot of infested swarm eggs, those infested Terrans, as a vortex drops. imagining 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 infested Terrans just surrounding it so that the Archons can't actually go inside. We've seen that a couple of times, and if Dark's been paying attention, then he knows that that is a good strategy to keep from losing all of your stuff. Psionic Storm does actually do a pretty good job against those infested Terrans, but they're still standing. They're just acting as a meat shield right now.
You don't want to trade a lot of energy for energy, though, when you only have 5 Templar against 18 Infestors. Right. So, wow, okay, a bunch more Infested Terrans going on. I thought that would clear up room for the Broodlords to try and assault this Nexus, but no. Looks like the Corruptors are actually just trying to get on through, but those Infested Terrans can actually take out Interceptors so quickly. And these carriers, they're not dead weight, absolutely, though they're actually very strong at the moment, but they are losing health pretty quickly.
Another problem is Interceptors flying into storms. You can actually see the little blue flames as they go. Big fungal
He got it!
neural.
He got it! He got the neural parasite on the mothership, and everything goes into it for HerO.
Immediately, and here we go. Here are the 40 to 50 infested Terrans that we were talking about, blocking up that vortex. As soon as the vortex ends, the mothership actually killed before the vortex ends. HerO's dumping everything in there. They're going to come out not cloaked. All those infested Terrans are going to be able to gun down those carriers extremely quickly with the help of the Corruptors. He's just dropping Corruption and moving forward with the Corruptors. The Broodlords have already taken care of the Nexus, and we're still moving forward with Dark at a huge advantage right now, 200 to 120 supply.
Oh, yes, he is. But there was a lot of damage done to the Corruptors. Nothing done to the Broodlords, though. But the Infestors are almost all out of energy. They don't have enough for a fungal growth at the moment. So there is a potential for HerO, if he can take out the big wave of Broodlords or start to get in and do some damage against them, that he'll be okay. Oh, very nice job actually stopping the Warpin up at the front as well. And HerO has to fall back once again.
Yeah, so actually I feel like, didn't this happen to HerO recently where he was winning a game?
So I'm saying against Onion Prime, against the former Prime player.
Oh, no. There was a recent game
more recent
in GSL, I believe, or maybe even OSL, but I believe it was GSL where he was playing a Zerg opponent and a Neural Parasite on a mothership cost him a game, but right now HerO is actually pushing back with this huge wall of Archons. There's not enough support for the Broodlords anymore. The Infestors have more or less spent the bulk of their energy, so the Archons actually moving forward might be able to keep HerO alive here.
And Archons are good against basically anything a Zerg player throws out because they're all biological. Ooh. So the Archons, with their splash damage, are actually taking quite a bit out. If you can keep all these Infestors alive, it'll be okay. Zerglings tend to get torn up by Archons, but there may be enough just to power the way through. No, absolutely not. And a lot of the Infestors die on the way out, too. But the problem is, HerO doesn't have a lot of money to be able to restart any of this. He's long-distance mining over here, but that's pretty much a gas, so he can replace on Templar. But his opponent does actually have an active mining base down in the bottom right-hand corner.
At least we have Changelings on the field. I mean, Dark can obviously just replenish those for a while, keep his Changeling army alive, and constantly distracting. Now, basically, the 9 Broodlords that were in production are done now. All the Lings that are following up are going to be out soon, and soon the Baneling Nest will allow them to morph over, so that will actually clear out Archons and Stalkers a little bit easier than that Air Force, if they get close enough, because obviously Archon Splash, if they focus the Banelings, won't really take much damage at all. But these Infestors still gathering energy. We have Broodlords, quite a lot of them in the air now. Good storm there from HerO just to nab a couple of those Lings, but now the destructible debris wall is down, and Dark has this path through the middle. He's going to try this Zerg siege push once again.
Now, an interesting question. Guardian Shield, I believe, it's not going to protect against the Broodlings themselves because they're melee, but it protects against Broodling Strike a little bit as well. Not that it's going to make that much difference, but I've never actually considered that direct question. But HerO needs to get in position. Now, he did just finish up a Nexus. Oh, no, and it's under assault already by Dark, and HerO needs to save that.
All right, that's the first wave of offense there from Dark, launching those infested Marines, and they are going to be the first ones gunned down by the Archons. Big storms landing all over the place. Actually, these Broodlords are taking quite a lot of damage, but there's not a ton of anti-air that can actually get close enough to finish them off. Lots of Lings in production now from Dark. As a follow-up, only 85 supply for HerO. After that Nexus goes down, even if HerO survives, that's going to be really tough to rebuild that and get restarted. His mineral and gas income is extremely low at this point. Dark, basically focusing on only mineral income at this point, is just going to follow up with a lot of Lings and use whatever gas he has to actually make Banelings.
The Broodlords are now going to try and assault the top, and HerO's gathering stuff so slow. I mean, he needs to take another base, but he uses all of his available rest of his resources now on the Stalkers, and he doesn't have anything left over. So HerO has to make some sort of a last-ditch stand here in just a second, but the Broodlings are just tearing him apart.
All right, Hero trying to run away. This is still quite a lot of forces here for Dark. All these Banelings in the mix. They don't even have speed or anything. He just needed something to spend that gas on that he could actually afford. Hero sitting at 0 gas, 70 minerals. His last standing army is going to try and take out the hatchery, but obviously Dark will be able to intercept here with all of these Infestors and Lings. And there are the Banelings once again as well. Storm's trying to repel everything, but I believe Dark just has more than Hero's going to be able to deal with. Once those Archons are down, that's going to be GG actually right now.
Wow.
From Hero.
Okay, what a good game to start us off, though. Both players had their opportunities, but Hero, unfortunately, big turning point in when that Mothership did get neuroparasited. He had all of his Vortex out underneath his Vortex died.
You want to start over?
Dude? I don't even know if that's a word.
Okay, so Hero.
Yeah.
it was Vortexed.
Vortexed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
Vortexted?
I like it.
No.
Vortexed.
Vortexed.
All right, so
or used
Hero,
Vortex, I guess.
Hero unfortunately lost all those units there, so he does go down, and Dark is actually up 1-0 for Slayers at the moment.
All right, so yeah, that was actually a really long game, 41 minutes to get us kicked off there between Slayers and Liquid. I can't believe Dark actually, you know, again, for the first 25 to 30 minutes, just didn't even attack, just kind of stayed alive through all the Zealots, all the Dark Templar, and then once he felt confident with his number of Infestors and Broodlords, just kind of mowed through those Nexuses. The Neural Parasite obviously helped quite a bit, but I do believe he was ready for it, even if a Vortex had landed on a lot of his forces. He had so many Infestors with enough energy that doing the sort of infested egg surround so that no Archons could get in, it looked like he was set up perfectly for that as well.
Something like what Hyun did against Squirtle back in Fight Club. So, all right, so that's game number 1 in the books. A couple of notes about Liquid's roster. Of course, they added C not too long ago to their team. However, we have a couple-week waiting period where you have to submit roster changes for those to be approved. So, unfortunately, C was not in for this match, so he won't be available on the roster just in case anyone's looking for him or anything like that. So,
no C today.
Not going to be there, but what we are going to have is one of the best Terran players in the world, a GSL Coda semifinalist. It's Liquid.HerO. He's coming in number 2.
Yeah, Liquid definitely realizes map score is going to be a huge part of them trying to advance to that semifinal bracket rather than the up and down matches. So with map score being very, very important, you want to put Hero and Tasia up pretty quick. So we'll see if Tasia is going to be able to clean out SlayerS.Dark and see how many kills he can actually try to rack up for Liquid.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to run to a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll jump into game number 2.